Hello and welcome to the Musical Instrument Investigator. Today we're on the website of French auction portal Informal Shares. We're going to have a look at the latest auction by Millon Auctions, also known as Apollium. Now this particular auction is happening on the 26th of June. It is the 21st today, so you've got a few days left to go. It's mostly bowed stringed instruments, but there are some other bits as well, some guitars, some bits and brass, woodwind, etc. So it's fairly interesting. Buyer's premium is 25% on this, so whatever the final hammer price is, you pay 25% of that on top. 331 lots, so quite a bit. This is a French auction, so if you're looking to bid from abroad, you get something shipped, import, export, all that kind of stuff, shipping fees, CITES restrictions, bear that in mind if you're outside of France. Just to say, I have been trying to record this video quite a few times. I'm having some real technical problems with my computer and with OBS software, so I have no idea if this is going to work or not. I'm a little bit skeptical, but I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to try and whirl through it because I've already gone through it a few times, but let's see, maybe third time is a charm. Just to say, if you do enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing, like or comment, because it really does help. I think this is an interesting auction, definitely worth looking over the catalogue a few times. I've already looked at it, you know, this is my third time going through it now, and I'm always seeing new things, so that is a bonus. I just hope that this recording actually works this time. But in any case, let's go through it and let's give it a go and see what we can find. We're not going to go too crazy on this. There's a lot of stuff which isn't too exciting, so we'll just go over the interesting stuff. So first of all, we have here a French violin by Augustin Clodo, 800 to 1200 euros on this, 362 length of back, so fairly interesting looking violin there. And let's see what else we've got here. We've got some kind of French trade violins here, so we're going to skip through this Central European stuff. It's all fairly generic. If we see anything really interesting, we shall stop. Maybe we'll have a look at this violin, French violin by Francois Deblay. So let's have a look at that. Fairly nice kind of back on it, needs a bit of attention, 356 the length of back. Lots of other French instruments here. There's a French Calcin school violin, well, not the same style of Corsin rather than school, but it's I think it's a bit overpriced really for what it is. I don't think it's the greatest looking instrument, 800 to 1200 euros there, but it's up to the auction house how they do it. So we've got lots of different French violins here, all kind of interesting enough. It's just probably not worth going too deep into it. Got a French violin here by Francois Apparout. So let's have a look at this. Sorry, a French violin by Georges Apparout, in fact, getting names mixed up there. So 1942, 356, 1500 to 2000 euros, so nothing too crazy there. I am a bit mindful that I've gone through this catalogue quite a few times, so I'm a bit nervous, I must be honest. So I'm just picking out a few interesting things, and I'll try not to keep it too long, and let's hope it just works, because if I found a solution then we can carry on. French violin attributed to Honoré Derazy, 3,500 to 4,000. This is one of the most interesting instruments I think in this auction. Definitely needs a bit of work, but quite curious. 356 length of back, which is pretty good. Let's see what else we've got. Lots more kind of French Mirecourt violins here. As I said, some of these are fairly decent, but I don't want to get too kind of in the weeds with this kind of stuff. Got a French violin by Nicolas Morlot there, so that's 365 length of back there. So it's got this interesting kind of design on it, so that's quite curious. Let's see what else we got here. Going on to page 2. Internet is a little bit slow today. This was curious. I think this is like a trade violin that's been adjusted for jazz playing. So it's got this kind of crazy cutaway, which is pretty unusual, so that's kind of interesting to see. Some more French violins here, many shades of Mircore violin there. This is a fairly interesting one. Violin, French violin by Germain Trumpf here, Strasbourg, 1991. 3.5 to 4,000 there, so a more contemporary instrument there. Some more French stuff here. We've got some German stuff appearing, a 7/8 there. We've got a French violin, which is saying from Blanchard. Looks like your very typical kind of French violin of that kind of period. 5 to 600, which I think is kind of not too bad. Let's see what else we got here. Some more French violins. Whole load. If we see anything super interesting, then we'll kind of jump on those. Let's have a look at this violin here. French violin by Thiriot, 1000 to 1200. 361 length of back, needs a bit of attention. Not the most exciting violin, but I can see the estimate in that one. Here's a French violin, probably by Albert de Blay, 1200 to 1500 on that. 358 length of back. Not too exciting, I'll be honest, in my opinion. This is an interesting French violin here with an Albani label. Interesting scroll and F-hole kind of shape and position there. 4 to 600 on that. Let's see what else we have. More kind of French stuff floating about. Another kind of Thiriot thing there. Let's have a look at this kind of curious German violin. It has saying it's a copy of Gasparo da Salo. Interesting scroll and purfling there, a bit different to the normal ones, but I think this is just another 19th century trade violin. Let's see what else we got here. The German violin, more kind of German violins. Let's actually have a look at this one while we're here. Once again, I don't know, 1500 to 1800 seems a bit expensive on that. I don't think that's too interesting. Let's have a look at this one. .355 length of back. Quite an interesting back on this one. 103, lot 103, 300 to 400. I think it's got some kind of individual charm. That's what I kind of look for. Another kind of interesting looking German violin here with a Gustav Viome label. Interesting back on that. It's quite nice wood actually. It's quite a, don't think that's a bad violin. 5 to 700. Slightly kind of interesting proportions, but I think it's curious. More German violins here. It's another interesting one which they're saying is a copy of a Bergonzi. 2.5 to 3,000 on that. Yeah, it's a fairly kind of nice looking instrument. It's got quite a nice back on it. Interesting purfling work. Let's see what else we've got here. Another German violin. It's a copy of Gaetano Guadagnini. Interesting. It has some substantial repairs there on the back. Has some charm to it. There's 6 to 700 euros on that. Let's see what else we got. This is a little bit odd in terms of its outline. A bit of a curious one. This one, you don't often see these kind of weird lumpy corners. Really quite odd. Don't recall having seen anything like this before. So it's interesting. A label saying Antonius Guazarian or something. Interesting. Pretty bizarre that, 5 to 700, but we do like bizarre. Another Mircore violins here. Like I said, all this stuff is pretty, you know, it's decent enough for projects for someone, but it's just time. We can't go through everything, and this is kind of lesser level stuff, so we're just taking a little bit of a browse. So another Central Europe violin here. Let's see. Oh wow, amazing back on that. That's really beautiful. Like that, 6 to 800. It's got a Gasparo de Salo label. 360 length of back. Really nice looking back on that. I really quite like that. It's quite charming. So more French violins here. Or Mircore stuff. I mean, this is my third time going through this catalogue, and I'm seeing new things all the time that are really kind of quite interesting. So kind of one of the older, slightly older French Mircore violins there, 358. Marquis de Doiseau. I quite like these. That needs a bit of attention, but it's interesting enough. Then we've got this curious Iranian violin from Tehran, 1939, labelled S. Arakelian, which I think is quite interesting. Really looks really well made. Not sure on the figurehead myself, but the instrument looks really nice. Nice back. Varnish looks interesting. So curious one, 900 to 1,000. Then violin here where they say has its original neck. I think saying it's Baroque is potentially a bit far-fetched, but interesting anyway. 351 there, the length of back. And let's see here, a violin here with a Postiglione label. I think it's been revarnished. I think that's what they say here. Interesting violin here. They're saying a Baroque violin, possibly or probably by Archimede Orlandini, 2.5 to 3,000 euros there. Quite interesting varnish on that. So a few more French things appearing here. Some fractional instruments that we're probably going to mainly ignore, to be honest. See if our internet loads up or not. So slowing down for the evening. Some more fractional, interesting half size there. Let's see what else we've got. More 3/4 stuff. Fractional instruments that I think we're going to avoid. More Mircore stuff. Let's see what else we've got. Some cellos here. I think, let me just check quickly. I think there was possibly another Orlandini that I might have just missed from the page before. So before we continue, just going to quickly go back to this page and see if we can find this. Yes, this one here that I somehow missed. It's another violin, they're saying probably by Archimede Orlandini. Interesting back on this one as well, it's quite nice. So just thought I would cover that. Let's go back here onto page 4. And let's go back down where we're somewhere near the cellos here. Not a great selection of cellos, but we'll have a look at this one here. This is the same probably by Touvenel, 4 to 6,000 on that. Then a interesting cello scroll there of what appears to be some kind of nun or something. So that's quite interesting. There's a modern viola there. Another slightly smaller modern viola. Interesting art here by Arman. quite like that. Let's see, here's some batons, conductors batons. We've got some harmoniums here, keyboard instrument of some kind. Let's just do a bit of translating on this and see if we can get the computer to work, and we can get a bit of an idea. Not 100% sure. Some kind of small table harpsichord spinner type thing, I think. Probably completely incorrect on that. This is interesting. It's a chair for a harpist. So that's quite an interesting stool there of a kind of shell. So that's quite curious. On to the next page. Let's see what else we got. It's definitely struggling today, isn't it, to load up. We've got a load of bows here, so let's see if there's anything interesting. Morazon there. There's an Usha, 3 to 400. Simon there, and another Miracle, the stamp of Lenoble. Bazaar, Miracle stuff here. Frechner. Let's see what else we got here. Eugene Cuneo Huri, Louis Bazaar. Violin bow, probably by Claude Auguste Thomasin. A few interesting, I think the bows are fairly interesting on that one. We won't go too deep into these, but I think there are some interesting ones around for sure. Some more bows here, probably by Charles Nicholas Bazaar there, 1500 to 2000. Cello bow, bass bows as well. Some other kind of bits and pieces of bows. Some other bits. We've got an interesting contra guitar here by Leopold Pick of Vienna. Interesting to see these, 6 to 800. A couple of other normal guitars there. Guitar by Carl Richter with a double top. Sometimes see mandolins and ukuleles with those. Got a Salvador Ibanez guitar there. This interesting guitar by Carmelo Catania. So that's kind of quite curious. Got a Cittern here, a Valzither by Boehm. Some other guitars here. This Carl Muller guitar, slightly kind of looking like a kind of romantic guitar of some kind, but it's not that old. Some other kind of those type of guitars. Another Salvador Ibanez. Some modern guitars here. Fender Telecaster. Load of strings. Some Neapolitan mandolins, but none of any great note. Some kind of banjo mandolins and zithers. And we're moving on a little bit further. This is really quite interesting, this Latin American harp. I think this is quite a curious one. I quite like that. Then we've got some flutes here. Some metal flutes, some wooden flutes. Transverse flutes here. Some other kind of other wind instruments. Got a flageolet. $100 to $200 on that. We've got some clarinets, some harmonicas and things like that. Some more clarinets, some brass stuff coming up here. This is really great. This is a Busin kind of cornet, as they're saying, with this amazing serpent's head. I think this is brilliant. This is one of my favourite lots of the auction. I think that's really, really great. 200 to 300 euros. If I had all the money in the world, I'd definitely buy that just for the interest of it. It's a filicide here. Always interesting to see these. By Guichard Brevet. And we've got kind of bugle type thing, I presume, and a buffet crampon bassoon there, a cabaret kind of pipes there, a cornet, some épinette de Vosges kind of simple zither type instruments, and we've got some other kind of early wind instruments, trumpets here, tenor saxophone, alto saxophone. Here's some kind of mixture of African, maybe early European instruments, as they're saying here. See if this loads up. Yep. And here is some parts for lamellophones, some kind of tuned wooden blocks, and some zithers, and that is the end of the auction. So yeah, quite an interesting auction actually. Every time I look at it, which has been quite a few times now, I see some other interesting things, so I definitely recommend looking over it once, twice, or even 3 times. So definitely worth a look. Link in the description as always. Remember, this finishes on the 26th of June. Thanks a lot for watching. I really hope that this time recording that it's actually worked, because I don't really want to go through it a 4th time, but we shall see what happens. But anyway, thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you next time. Ciao.